In 2004, Gail Laverne Grimes died in the hospital after surgeons spent 6 exhausting hours trying to separate her skin from a couch. The 500-pound woman had been sitting on her living room sofa for 6 years, to the point where her skin completely fused to the fabric. Rescue workers had to transport Gail in her couch using a trailer, and she ended up dying while still attached to it. Studies have shown that obese drivers are 80% more likely to die in a car accident than drivers who are not overweight. John Brower Minock was the heaviest person ever reliably recorded, with doctors estimating his peak weight at around 1,400 pounds. After being hospitalized, he was placed on a strict 1,200 calorie per day diet, and over the next 2 years lost an astonishing 924 pounds, the largest documented human weight loss in history. But unfortunately, after leaving the hospital, he gradually regained most of the weight back. He was eventually readmitted after weighing about 950 pounds and died in 1983 at the age of 41. Here's some insane footage of a 600-pound Florida man being rescued from his apartment after suffering from a sudden medical emergency. Because he couldn't be safely carried through the building's doors or stairways, firefighters had to remove part of his exterior wall instead. They strapped him onto a heavy-duty shipping pallet, attached it to a crane, and slowly lowered him from the apartment as neighbors gathered outside to watch. The painstaking rescue took a large team of emergency responders and specialized equipment just to get him into an ambulance. In the past few decades, some morbidly obese patients have been sent to zoos for MRI and CT scans because standard hospital machines can't accommodate their weight. Zoos have bigger scanners designed for large animals, making them a practical solution in these extreme cases. In July of 2024, 24-year-old Chinese mukbang streamer Pan Zhaoting died after collapsing during a marathon eating livestream. Despite previously being hospitalized for gastrointestinal bleeding, she reportedly continued doing 10-hour binge-eating broadcasts, consuming up to 22 pounds of food in a single session. Her autopsy report said her stomach was severely deformed and still packed with undigested food, with many outlets reporting she likely suffered a fatal stomach rupture following the extreme binge. During the recent earthquakes in Venezuela, security cameras captured a terrifying race against time. Several people can be seen sprinting down the final flights of stairs as the building starts shaking violently. Seconds later, the entire structure starts collapsing behind them, reducing it to a massive pile of rubble as they escaped by mere moments. The powerful earthquakes caused widespread devastation across the country, destroying thousands of buildings and leaving more than 1,000 people dead, with many more displaced or injured. This was the moment a man was in serious danger of becoming a polar bear's next meal. After spotting the massive predator charging toward him, he sprinted for his snowmobile as the bear rapidly closed the distance. Just as he managed to start the engine, the roar of the snowmobile made the bear hesitate for just a split second. That brief pause gave him just enough time to speed away to safety. Polar bears are the only bears known to actively stalk and hunt humans as prey, making encounters like this among the most dangerous in the animal kingdom. This was the moment San Diego's 2012 Big Bay Boom fireworks show went catastrophically wrong. The 4th of July display was supposed to last 18 minutes, but a computer glitch triggered all 7,000 shells at once, turning the entire show into a deafening and blinding 25-second barrage of explosions. Miraculously, no one was seriously injured. Investigators later traced the error to a software failure, and the fireworks company accepted full responsibility before providing the following year's $125,000 show free of charge. Exactly 50 years after the United States declared its independence, on July 4, 1826, President John Adams lay dying and uttered his final words, "Thomas Jefferson survives." But little did he know, President Thomas Jefferson had died a few hours earlier that same day, making them the first 2 U.S. presidents to die on the nation's birthday. 5 years later, President James Monroe also died on July 4th, becoming the 3rd president out of the first 5 to die on Independence Day. When President James Madison was nearing death 5 years after that, his doctors did everything to keep him alive until the 4th of July, but Madison refused to be unnecessarily stimulated. He died naturally on June 28th, just 6 days before Independence Day, ending the incredible streak. This photo was taken at the exact moment a phone began shutting down because of low battery. As the device lost power, the camera glitched mid-processing and partially corrupted the image, creating a distorted frame that looks more like a horror game render than a real photograph. This young snow leopard was caught reacting to the sound of a hidden camera trap deep in the mountains. The first image shows the rare predator calmly staring into the lens, but seconds later it appeared to snarl after hearing the camera click. Snow leopards are so elusive they're often called the ghosts of the mountains, and many researchers spend years studying them without ever seeing one in person. Lahaina Noon is a rare solar event where an entire city briefly loses its shadows, making the world look like a video game before everything renders. It happens twice a year in tropical regions like Hawaii, when the sun passes directly overhead at a perfect 90-degree angle, so buildings, objects, and people appear eerily flat as if reality itself hasn't fully rendered yet. Fishermen off the coast of Costa Rica caught something scientists had never documented before, an orange nurse shark. Researchers later confirmed the shark had an extremely rare pigmentation condition called xanthism, combined with traits of albinism, giving it its bright yellow-orange color. Nurse sharks normally rely on dark brown skin to camouflage against the sea floor, making this shark stand out so much that many people initially thought the photos were AI. Mike Tyson later admitted that he took his famous cameo role in The Hangover while struggling with a severe cocaine addiction, saying he accepted the job mostly for drug money and was so intoxicated he barely remembered agreeing to it. The same year the film was released, Tyson's 4-year-old daughter Exodus tragically died after a treadmill power cord wrapped around her neck at the family's home in Phoenix. Tyson later recalled arriving at the hospital hungover and so overwhelmed with grief that his first instinct was to grab a gun and, quote, go crazy. He said seeing other parents quietly coping with their own dying children is what stopped him, and that Exodus's death ultimately became the turning point that led him to get sober. Tyson later said that had he not gotten clean, he likely would have died himself. In 1978, after North Korean commandos attempted to assassinate South Korean President Park Chung-hee, Unit 684 was secretly created in South Korea to infiltrate the North and kill leader Kim Il-sung. The 31 recruits, many reportedly criminals or men promised money and pardons, were sent to a remote island where they endured years of brutal training involving extreme physical punishment, starvation, and harsh survival exercises that killed 7 members before the mission ever even began. When relations between the two Koreas unexpectedly improved and the assassination mission was suddenly abandoned, the remaining 24 men realized they had effectively become disposable secrets. In 1971, they mutinied, killed several of their guards, hijacked a bus towards Seoul, and exchanged gunfire with the military before most of the unit died in a final shootout and grenade explosion. The 4 surviving members were later captured, court-martialed, and executed. Here's an image showing what the sinking of the Titanic would have actually looked like on April 15, 1912. It was a moonless night in the North Atlantic, and once the ship's power failed, the massive liner disappeared into near total darkness, leaving over 1,500 people unable to clearly see the ship, the lifeboats, or even each other. Many survivors later reported hearing screams from the water but couldn't see anything, as the lack of light turned the disaster into something disorienting and almost invisible. It wasn't just the freezing temperatures that made it so horrifying, it was also the darkness, where one of the worst disasters in maritime history unfolded out of sight. In 1922, a young girl with severe diabetes was photographed while essentially waiting to die, at a time when the condition was almost always fatal, especially in children. Before there was any treatment, patients were often placed on near-starvation diets to slow the disease, leaving them dangerously weak while their bodies continued to deteriorate. That same year, doctors administered a new experimental treatment called insulin, one of the first times it had ever been used on a human. Within days, patients who were expected to die began to recover. The discovery transformed diabetes from a death sentence into a manageable condition almost overnight.